One of the most disgusting things that I've seen so far this Democratic presidential primary is Hillary Clinton's invoking of the Sandy Hook children who, were massacred, to say the least. And she used this as an attack against Bernie Sanders in New York to convince people of New York that she was sufficiently against guns, totally against guns. If she was president, guns no go. Okay. Yet, somehow, and this goes completely unnoticed by the mainstream media, except for Fox News, who actually called it out, and by Hillary supporters that I've talked to on Twitter, begrudgingly, she totally flipped on that in Pennsylvania. So in New York, she was against guns. In Pennsylvania, she's for the Second Amendment. If you need proof, take a look at this video.
I know how important gun ownership and particularly hunting is here in Northeastern Pennsylvania. And I want you to know that we can't ignore the Second Amendment, and we can't ignore that 33,000 people a year die from gun violence. And I think we are smart enough to figure out how to do that.
So there you have it. She's for the Second Amendment. She's for guns. That's plain and obvious flip-flopping. That's plain and obvious pandering. She's saying to New Yorkers, I'm against guns, and Bernie Sanders is not sufficiently for the parents of these who lost children at Sandy Hook, in Sandy Hook. That's horrible. And then she goes to Pennsylvania, Northeastern Pennsylvania, and says, look, I know you guys love your guns, and we have to respect the Second Amendment. Wait, what? You just said in New York about a week or so ago that you were against guns and that Bernie Sanders wasn't tough enough on guns. Now you're saying essentially that you're not going to be tough on guns either, because you know that Northeastern Pennsylvanians or whatever they like to go hunting. So which one is it, Hillary? You can't have it both ways. You can't say, I'm against guns, I'm for guns when I'm here, though. You can't do that. Not as president, not as governor, not as anything. You can't say to the American people, hey, I'm on your side. I'm against guns. We need to do more gun control. We need to be able to sue gun shop owners and gun manufacturers for selling illegal products. And you can't blame gun shop owners, if they sell a gun legally to someone who passed the background check, who shows no signs of possibly going out to commit a mass shooting. You can, if the person comes in and say, oh, I need a shit ton of ammo and I need like 4 guns. You can sue them then. You can sue them if the person fails the background check and the person goes out and they give the person a gun and the person goes out and kills people. You can sue them if, they go to a gun show and buy a gun and then go out to kill people. But look, Bernie Sanders agrees with that. Hillary Clinton says no, they should be able to be sued no matter what. So effectively putting gun manufacturers and gun shop owners out of business. Yet Hillary Clinton says she's for small businesses and she's for the middle class. That says she's not. Furthermore, you can't have it both ways. You can't say I'm for guns in one place and I'm against it in another place. We have social media. We have Twitter. We have YouTube. We have Facebook. We have all these social media platforms that we can go to and see you flip-flop on this issue. And you'll probably get away with it. For the most part, you have already. Fox News hold you to showed the tape of it. But CNN's not going to do their part on that. So most Hillary supporters are going to go and vote for her, even though she just proved what everybody's been saying for the longest time, that she is a flip-flopper. She says whatever is politically expedient for her to win. And in this case, for New York, for her to win, she evoked the massacre, the horror of what happened in Sandy Hook as an attack on Bernie Sanders. Used dead children to attack Bernie Sanders. And then when she gets to Pennsylvania, she says, I'm for the Second Amendment. We have to respect the Second Amendment. That is a disgusting and horrible tactic. That is politician 101. Like that, and Hillary supporters are none the wiser. They don't believe in facts. They don't see the facts because they're blind. They're blinded by the fact that she is a woman and that's what they want to see. And I get it. I want to see a woman president really badly. But I'm not going to vote for the first one that comes along just because it's the first one that comes along. I'm going to vote for the right one. And Hillary Clinton is not the right first female president. She's not. She's too much of a war hawk. She's too much of a corporatist. She's a neoliberal. She's a flip-flopper. It took her to 2013 to say that she's for same-sex marriage. Think about that. Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, in the 80s, as mayor of Burlington, passed LGBT Pride Day in Burlington in the 80s. Stood up for gay people, LGBT people, when it was not popular. That's who we have on our hands. And granted, he wasn't for same-sex marriage until 2006, but he was for civil unions before then. But Hillary Clinton was marriages between a man and a woman the entire time. Hillary Clinton was for the Patriot Act, for the Iraq War, for DOMA, okay? For Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Bill Clinton signed that into law. Like, what are we thinking here, people? Like, this is not a candidate worth putting out there to the people and saying, this is who we choose, because this is not a good person. This is a person who says her Iraq war vote was a mistake, plain and simple. Tell that to the families who lost their children, their brothers, their sisters, their cousins. Tell that to them, that your Iraq war vote was a mistake, plain and simple. Because there is nothing plain and simple about losing a family member. I should know. I mean, I was in the military. I was thankfully in the Coast Guard. So I could have went overseas and fought over there, but I chose not to. My brother, on the other hand, is in the National Guard, and he went over there and fought. Like, the nightmare of that, you know, and that's who we're throwing up there. A person who wants to go into Iran, who wants to put a no-fly zone over Syria, which will effectively make it even harder for us to try and work with Putin. She is very much like Chris Christie and a lot of the other Republican presidential candidates, is going to start another world war. We said it about Chris Christie and a lot of other people when they were talking about putting a no-fly zone in Syria. What did we say? They were going to start World War III if they do that, because it's going to piss off the Russians, and then we're going to have a serious problem because the Russians are going to retaliate, and the Russians more than likely will have China, North Korea, and many other places on their side. So, saying a no-fly zone in Syria, saying that your foreign policy plan is going to be more muscular than President Obama's, when President Obama's foreign policy plan includes tons of drone strikes that have blown up hospitals, that have blown up civilians. Her foreign policy plan is going to be more muscular. That is not good for us, people. That is not a democratic president. It's not when Obama does it. It's not when she does it. She is not ready to be president. She is not a good fit for the Democratic Party. She does not have democratic values like Bernie Sanders does. Yet, again, we have more evidence now of her flip-flopping. Yet Hillary supporters are going to continue to support her and continue to badmouth Bernie Sanders, who talks about wanting to promote peace around the world. That's the issue we have on our plates. I can't believe that in 2016 there are people who are so blind and so dedicated to one thing that they're not looking at the bigger picture. Like I said, I get wanting to see a female president. I want to see that really badly, but not at the cost of us going to more wars or having essentially the same student debt plan that we have now in this country. It's not worth my vote being counted as like a fraction of one vote because money is in politics, and those people have more votes than me because the person with the most money wins. I can't handle the status quo. I can't handle more of it. And it baffles me that we have people who are just so willing to accept the status quo because their only goal is to see a woman president. And I mean, I've talked about this before. You can go and look at all of our other Hillary Clinton videos, and I get just as angry in all of those, if not more in some of them. But Hillary Clinton, again, with this, shows that she's a flip-flopper and that she's saying whatever it takes to get elected, and that means anybody is going to get thrown out there, and that includes dead children. It's disgusting.